3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Old School Matt here, back with another Water Buffalo Training Method podcast today. Today we're going to be doing a sit down with me and my great grandmother. I just wanted to introduce her. We haven't known each other for the past 21 years, and recently we just got reconnected over the past couple months with my grandpa as well. It's been a long time coming to have this reunion. I wanted to sit down with her because she is in fact 93 years old, turning 94 this September. So without further ado, I want to introduce my great-grandmother. Great-grandma, do you want to tell everybody your name? The camera's right there if you want to speak.
I'm Lillian T. Strange. I'm 93 years old, and I'm so glad I found my family after all these years.
You know, Grandma has been living in Rocky Mount for her whole life, right, Grandma?
Yes.
And she was born in many different eras of the United States. She has been throughout many different, different times in the United States, and has been through many struggles and whatnot with having a husband who was in the army or in the military, and just living through a lot of different stuff that's gone on in the United States. So, Grandma, I just want to start off really quick and just ask you a couple questions on how your upbringing was. Where did you grow up, and how were your parents?
I was born in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. My father was a painter, and my mother was a stay-at-home mother.
What were their names, Grandma?
My daddy's name was Andrew Jackson Thompson. My mother's name was Mamie Gladys Whitfield.
Okay. And what do they do for a living?
My father was a painter, and my mother worked for the government's sewing machine. She made shirts for the prisoners.
Okay. For the who?
Prisoners.
Oh, for the prisoners. Gotcha. And that was all in Rocky Mount?
Mm-hmm.
So, Grandma, growing up, what were some things you did as a child compared to, nowadays a lot of kids, when they grow up, they're on the computer and stuff like that. As a kid, what did you do when you grew up? Like, what was something you guys did for fun?
Honey, I was very, very poor.
Okay.
I did very little. I didn't have much, when I was growing up. But I had anything I wanted when I got married.
Got you. So, growing up, did you, work at a very young age? What was that like growing up during that time period?
I worked for my aunt. She ran a beauty shop. And I washed all the ladies' hairs and put them under the dryer. And then when they got ready to have their hair combed out, I took all the curls and all out of their hair. Okay. And I worked for her a couple of years.
And that was when you were in your teenage years? Or?
Yes, I was 15.
Okay. Now, Grandma, I wanted to also ask you some questions because you were born in 1926, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So I know that was, a very, very long time ago, but do you remember some things during the Great Depression which would have happened during, your younger ages, or you don't remember much?
I don't remember much. I just remember we were very poor.
Yeah. And, going into World War II, I know you would have been a little bit older. What do you think affected you most with that? That would be your first war you lived through, right?
Yes.
And how was it during the war, just in the United States? What was it like?
It was good. It was good.
So there wasn't a lot of terror at home?
No.
No. What about, do you remember the day that the war had started?
Yes.
Do you remember what day that was and how you were feeling that day?
I was doing fine. When it came over the radio, I was cleaning up my living room.
Okay. And how old were you at the time? 17. Okay, got you. So looking back at that time period, the 1930s and the 1940s, what would you say the presidential status and did you like the presidents during that time?
Yes, I did. Very much so.
Who was your favorite president?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah. Now, during that time as well, I'm sure you have a lot of stories. Do you have any stories that you'd like to share with us during, the 30s and 40s and growing up? Any specific stories you'd like?
Well, my happiest day was when I met my husband in 1944. And I had a good life from then on. We were in service for 20 years. He retired as a chief petty officer in the Navy. And I did a lot of traveling.
Do you remember the first day you guys met, Grandma?
Yes, it was at a fair in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and a friend of mine introduced me to him. My husband left home when he was 15 years old and went to work in a shipyard in Norfolk, Virginia. And from there, when he was 17, he joined the Navy. And so but I was in school with his brother. I knew his family well, but I didn't know him until 1944.
Okay. And how was my great grandpa? How was he like when you met him? Was he the same man he was, later in life, or was he a little different at a younger age?
Well, he was different at a young age.
What was he like, Grandma?
My children always worked very hard. My children were all hard workers.
What did he do? He was always in the military?
Yes.
When you met him, he was
yes.
in the military? Do you remember the first words he said to you?
How old are you?
and how old were you at the time?
I was 17 when I met him, and I was 19 when I married him.
Okay, and how old was he?
22.
He was 22, okay. And you guys met at the fair?
Yes.
Yeah. How was the fair during the day, or was it at night?
It was in the daytime.
Daytime. And you guys just met through just being there?
Yeah, well, my friend that lived across the street from me introduced me to him.
Okay. And you guys just all hung out together?
We just hung out.
Yeah. And, back then it's a lot different than now. Did you guys communicate on a daily basis, or you just met that one day and then there happened to be another time where you guys met again?
Oh, we met often.
Yeah? Okay.
He either visited me or either I went down to Florida and visited him till we got married.
Got you. So what part of Florida? He was just stationed in Florida?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What part of Florida?
In Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, okay. Do you remember talking to him about was he a part of the war when Pearl Harbor had happened?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember talking to him about that at all? Or anything?
Yes, I do.
Anything you could say? You can remember?
It was terrible.
Yeah. Compared to something like 9/11, how do you think Pearl Harbor was to the United States? Was it very similar, the impact?
I think so, yes.
Well, that's awesome. It helped bring the country together. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of American pride, a lot of soldiers who were very proud to be Americans, and it was almost, very patriotic. The country was a lot more patriotic than I think nowadays. If you would agree with me, I'm not sure.
Yes.
I think that those times had definitely brought us closer together as a country and helped us, gain some type of respect for our soldiers and our troops who were protecting us during that time. Would you agree?
Yes, my mother-in-law had 3 sons. She actually had 4 sons, but 3 of them were in the Navy.
Got you. Now going on past the war, so let's go forward to about 1945, 1946, after the war was almost over. Around that time, maybe the late 1940s. How was it with Grandpa once he got out of service?
Well, when he got out of service and retired after 20 years, he went to work at the post office. Mm-hmm. And he worked there for about 20 years.
Okay. And, as someone who came out of the war, was he the same type of person, or did he start to mature a little bit as he got older? How was he?
He matured.
Yeah. Okay.
Real well.
Do you have any stories about you guys, after you guys met, after you guys got married, you want to share, Grandma?
Well, there was good times and there was bad times, but we made it through it.
What were some of the good times?
Well, we traveled a lot from place to place, and I had a good life. We had a good life.
Do you remember any trips that you enjoyed particularly well?
Yes, I went to Hawaii and I enjoyed that. And I went to San Francisco and I enjoyed that. And we were stationed in Massachusetts. I never went overseas, but I followed him wherever he was at. Mm-hmm. He was in the aircraft business. Mm-hmm. He was the man and done all the work to the airplanes.
Awesome. Do you? What was your favorite location he was stationed at?
I'd say Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, it was nice. Did he get a lot of breaks on the weekends and stuff?
Yes,
like that?
He did.
So it's to my understanding that Grandpa Jesse was in charge of helping the planes and putting them together and whatnot.
Yes.
So he had because in that time of war, if I'm not mistaken, the plane had just been implemented as a war. Like in World War One, they didn't really use planes that much, but World War Two, they started to use planes more and more often in combat. So he had a very important role. Would you say, Grandma?
Yes, he did, very much so.
And as a man who was born, he was born poor too?
Yes, very much so. His mother had 9 children. My mother only had 3.
Do you know their names, Grandma?
All my family's names?
No, the Grandpa Jesse's brothers and sisters.
Oh, Lee was the oldest. Jesse was the second child. Clyde was the 3rd child. E.B. was the 4th child. Bunch was the 5th child. Grace was the 6th child. Ralph was the 8th child. And Kristen was the 9th child.
Got you. And 3 out of the 4 boys were in the military?
Yes, in the Navy.
In the Navy, awesome. Were you fond of most of them, Grandma?
Yes.
Yeah. Are any of them still around today?
They're all dead except one. Becky's still alive, and she lives in Michigan.
Okay.
But the rest of them are all dead.
Got you. Okay, well, we could move on a little bit more to maybe the 1960s when you guys, or when was Grandpa Mike born? Grandpa Mike was born in...
He was born on February the 11th,
52.
1924.
No, Grandpa Mike.
Oh, Mike, Mike. He was born on January the 31st, 1950.
Do you remember that day, Grandma?
Yes, I do.
What was it like?
Terrible.
Yeah? Why?
I had a hard time with Mike.
Uh-huh. Was it like the process of giving birth was difficult?
Yes.
It was your first one, right?
No. Rosemary, my daughter, was my first.
Got you. Now, we'll rewind there first. So how was the first child with Rosemary?
That was kind of easy.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot different from nowadays, right?
Oh yes.
So
yes.
Did you have someone come into your house to give birth to her, or did you go to the
No, I went to the hospital with all of them.
Can you put me through the first day when you had Rosemary, Grandma? What was the morning like? What was it like?
It was in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. I went to the hospital, and she was born on New Year's Day.
Okay.
And my mother was with me, his mother was with me, and my husband was with me at the hospital when Rosemary was born.
Got you. You were at home, I'm assuming, and you felt something, and you went to the hospital.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was an easy process. And
yeah.
Was there a lot of people there that was surrounding you guys, giving you support?
No, just them 3 people.
Yeah, got you. Was it a happy day, you would say, in your life?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I've always loved children, especially babies.
Yeah, that's awesome, Grandma. Now let's forward to Grandpa Mike. Now, why did Grandpa Mike give you so much trouble?
Well, he was a teenager.
No, I meant
when he was born.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go to the hospital. They thought I had toxemia, but I didn't.
What is that, Grandma?
It's a disease that you have. Mm-hmm. And I stayed in the hospital about 4 days, but everything worked out all right.
Yeah. Grandpa Jesse was there with you?
Yes.
Every minute?
Yeah, most of the time.
Awesome. How was Uncle Steve and Grandpa Mike and all the kids growing up? How were they, during that time period as raising children? How was it?
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. My children never give me any trouble. They all loved to hunt and fish, and I could always know where my boys were.
Where were they? Always either hunting or fishing?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how was it to raise a household full of 4 children while Grandpa Jesse always worked? You said he was always working. So how was it being a mother raising 4 children all at once?
Well, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard.
What are some things that you think that you did that helped you raise the children so well? What are some traits, maybe?
Well, the education was the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all my children graduated from school, and my baby girl, she went to college.
Okay. And now, growing up and during that time period, did you take them to school and stuff like that, or did they all walk, take the bus?
No, they walked to the bus.
Okay.
And they rode the bus and they put my children out right in front of my home when they got out of school.
So compared to like nowadays, a lot of kids get picked up from school, get dropped off. You think that giving them that responsibility to be able to walk and take care of themselves help them become more independent later in life, Grandma? Maybe.
Yes.
Yep. Do you believe in that? The old, obviously nowadays raising children is a lot different. You would say, even seeing with your grandchildren and people around you. Do you believe that your way of raising the grandchildren was, maybe superior or has some benefits to nowadays?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, Grandma. What are some stories you can talk to us about during that time, maybe when the kids are growing up, if you remember any of them, about Grandpa Mike, Uncle Steve, anything like that?
Not really.
No funny stories about them?
Oh, yeah, that was funny stories.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I tell them what time to be home, and they were a little late, but I wouldn't go to bed till I knew they were home.
I'll let you think. Do you know any stories about Grandpa Mike getting in trouble or anything like that, Grandma?
No.
No? He never got in trouble?
Mm-mm.
That's awesome. That's great. We can move into the later 60s and 70s now when Grandpa Mike went to war. How was that for you, Grandma?
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was scary?
Yes, very much so.
What are some things that maybe went through your mind when you found out he was going to?
I was just hoping and praying he'd come home from Vietnam. He was over there for 2 different times.
Yeah. Did you talk to him regularly, Grandma?
I know. We wrote.
Okay. So you write to him maybe once a month?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you guys would write about?
How things were, how they were back home, and he couldn't wait till he got home to be with his family.
Do you still have some of those letters nowadays, Grandma?
No.
No.
I lost everything I had in 1999 when Floyd came through. All my furniture, my home, everything. I had 4.5 foot of water in my home.
There was a flood, you said, Grandma?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, it happened that night, and I was taken out of my home on a boat. And my sister was with me, and we went to my son's house, Steve's house, to stay. And then I left and went to live with my daughter, Rosemarie, on her farm till I could build a house. And I built a house on her farm.
Uncle Steve, do you want to come in? Are you sure? You want to tell me, Uncle Steve, maybe some stories that Grandma could talk to you, I could remind her, because I don't really know many of the stories that she has. But you were telling me some things that...
And I'll have to send you this picture of a night that Mom and my father went dancing. And my father got up to go to the bathroom, and when he came back, Mom was dancing with an Air Force officer. And my father was very, very upset, as indicated in the picture. And you can tell me the rest of the story.
He was so mad when I was just out there. I love to dance, and this guy came up and asked me to dance with him. Well, I got up and danced. And he come out of the bathroom and he walked over to that dance hall floor. He said, "Let's go." Mm-hmm. So he escorted me off the field. And he was mad. We had a picture made that night. He could have eaten me alive. He was so mad.
Do you remember what the guy's name was you danced with, Grandma?
Mm-mm.
Do you remember what song you danced with him to?
Tennessee Waltz.
Tennessee Waltz, that was the song?
As they were walking down the highway going home, a drunk driver crossed the lane and was headed directly towards them. And my father pushed Mama and the other guy companion into the ditch, and he took full force of the car.
50 feet down the road.
50 feet. He stayed in the hospital for about 6 months, and he found out that Mom was pregnant while he was up there in the hospital. and got out of the hospital bed. He was pregnant with my sister.
Darling.
She was pregnant with my Rosemary, my oldest sister.
Oh, that was with Rosemary.
This was right after Mom and Dad got together.
Gotcha.
And he got up out of the hospital bed and went downstairs and bought her a dozen roses and came back. And yeah, it was a very serious injury. But the picture is just...
You'll see it when you come to my house.
You can send it to me, Uncle Steve.
Yeah, I will. You would have had to have known my dad to see his reaction in the picture and just know how upset he was. I mean, he could have chewed penny nails in that with his expression.
Sure could.
Now, Uncle Steve, do you remember any stories from you growing up, getting in any trouble or anything like that? You can.
Well, I was constantly in trouble.
Yeah, Grandma.
Clint Eastwood, with his rawhide wit, didn't have anything on my mama with a weeping willow branch. She would break one off, and she could crack a blister on you from 10 feet away. But by the time I got to be 10 years old, Mama couldn't hurt me anymore.
Yeah.
Physically hurt me, so I would antagonize her and aggravate her to the point where she broke bad, and I could always outrun her. But my lifelong best friend told me recently that one of his favorite childhood memories was seeing my mother hold me down on the floor, just popping me back and forth in the face.
Yeah. Grandma, what was your house like back in the day during that time when you were raising? Was it a big house?
Yes.
Can you describe it to me, Grandma?
I had a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, 3 bedrooms, and a back porch and a side porch. Brick home.
Brick home? And that was in Rocky Mountain?
Yes.
Have you been there since?
No, they tore it down.
Oh, okay. Why did they tear it down?
Because they got flooded.
The flood? Okay.
Contamination. They bought all the homes on that street and bulldozed them all down. There can never be any residential buildings put back there.
We'll recap one more time. So the flood happened. You guys got everyone out of the house safely, and then basically for the next couple of years you lived with Rosemary at her house, and then at that time, Uncle Steve, you had pitched in. You guys had all pitched in to make her a new house, which is the house that she lives in now. How was it to move into that? Did you move into that house alone, Grandma, or did you move?
Yes.
How was it moving in for the first day and getting to?
It was fine.
Do you sometimes miss your old house a little bit, or yeah?
But you know what? I've only been by there 3 times.
Yeah.
In all these years.
About the house on Springfield Road.
That got flooded. I can't stand to go by there.
I videotaped when they came to demolish the houses. It took 1 minute 35 seconds
for them
to take the house from a standing house to a pile of rubble.
Wow.
1 minute and 35 seconds.
And Grandpa Jesse built that house. Yeah.
What we did, my father purchased some. They had a naval military complex in Newport News that they were doing away with. So my father purchased 4 apartments, assembled them, and we brought them back to North Carolina and built 2 houses.
Anyways, guys, so that's going to be part 1 of my grandma's interview. I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and everyone who's watching out there. Granchi, do you have anything to say to the camera?
I'm glad to be alive, and I love everybody.
And if you want to give everyone out there, Grandma, maybe give them 3 tips on living a long and happy life really quick before we cut off the recording.
Eat right, don't smoke, and don't drink.
That you hear from this lady. So 93 turning 94. And when's your birthday, Granchi?
9th month, 9th day, and 26 is when I was born. I'll be 94 years old in September of this year.
Yep. And you're happy and you're living well and healthy, right, Grandma?
Very, very much so.
And tell everyone out there, you can walk on your own. You can basically do everything you can.
I can do everything except cook. I'm not allowed to cook anymore.
Now, if they let you cook, you probably could cook too, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Anyways, guys, we appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for tuning in, all the Strange and Win family out there. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you guys are watching it, Granchi, thank you so much. And if you want to, Granchi, you want to give everyone your name, your full name on the camera one more time.
Lillian Marie Thompson Strange.
That's it for today, Granchi. Thank you so much for having us. We love you.
I love you too, darling.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was so